Hello everyone, welcome back to the Oz Now YouTube channel for your latest daily rundown ahead of the action at the 2026 PDC World Championship. With me, Matt Hill, it is the Sunday, December 28th sessions that I'm previewing here today. The second day of round 3 matches. We've had some cracking ties today, some really competitive action, particularly in the afternoon. Really enjoyed watching them. A couple of shocks as well. Bunting obviously going out to James Hurrell, probably the main one. And that quarter continues to open up, doesn't it? Johnny Clayton is an odds-on, not quite odds-on poker to win it, but could be a few more twists and turns in that quarter to come with Harrison and Hurrell still lurking and one of Schindler or Searle to join. So very interesting part of the draw. Littler, fantastic against Menzo Suljevic. And some other great performances in there. But overall, it was a profitable day for me. First couple of winners up. Ratajski on the 189 at 15-8, which was a really pleasing winner. And then we had another winner in the afternoon as well, which slips my mind right now. But it was a profitable day overall. Hopefully it's the same again to come here. And 6 matches to get stuck into. So without further ado, let's get into it. Game 1 is Martin Schindler versus Ryan Searle then. And I think opportunity knocks hugely for these two. As I alluded to, the quarter 2 really opening up. I think the winner will play James Hurrell in the last 16, which I think if you'd have said that to either of these two, they'd have snapped your hand off, wouldn't they, at the start of the tournament. It's not going to be an easy game for whoever wins it, but it really is a good opportunity for them to get some really precious ranking money on the tally, and who knows what else, to be honest. I mean, like you could be easily looking at a semi-final here if you're one of these two guys in a few days' time. So very interesting one. Ryan Searle has been heavily backed here, 8-11 across the board now. I'm just going to keep this really simple. I'm going to back Martin Schindler here. 23-20 available with AK bets, 6-5 on the exchange, which we'll go with. And I don't think there's much between them. But I think I've been more impressed with what Schindler's done. Even though Searle hasn't dropped a set here, he's had 2 very easy games against Chris Landman and Brendan Dolan, neither of whom were managing to fire when they faced Searle. His scoring's been okay, as you would expect with Ryan Searle. His doubling's been pretty good, but I still don't think he's been put under any real pressure, and I think he will be here. And I have my concerns with Ryan Searle when he's put under pressure because although he's got this fantastically consistent record, he's never gone out of the World Championship before round 3, and he's not going to do this year either. But he's also never been beyond round 4, which I think kind of typifies where Ryan Searle is in his career. Very consistent, but doesn't seem to kick on into these latter rounds, and that's a shame, really. Maybe this will be the year he does it. But I've been much more impressed with the way Martin Schindler's done it because he has been tested twice. Stephen Burton threw some good darts at him in round 1. He was 1-1 in sets and under pressure, and he really delivered and flew home to win that 3-1. Then in his 3-0 win over Keane Barry, he was asked serious questions. All 3 sets went to a final leg, and Schindler produced some really good closing legs to win that game. And I just like this, like Martin's demeanour in his post-match press conferences. He seems really relaxed, really comfortable in his game, and he's enjoying it. And I think he's more primed to take this opportunity than Ryan Searle. Now, obviously, a lot of the dynamics will be on who takes the first set or two, because I think both of these guys could potentially run away with it. And I did think about playing the under sets again, similar to what I did with Woodhouse Gilding. I think it could be a similar kind of pattern where whoever gets in front kind of seizes it and runs away with it. The market's expecting it to be like a 4-3 either way. I'm not so sure. However, I think it's just easier to keep things straight with Schindler. Like I said, I've been really impressed with the way he's playing. I think this opportunity, I have more confidence in him to seize this opportunity than I do Searle. And I'm a bit surprised to see the market going for Searle here, to be honest. I'm happy to back the German. 6-5 on the Betfair exchange. Second game of the afternoon, this could be a cracker as well, couldn't it? Damon Heta versus Rob Cross. I think you have to say, to be honest, 2 seeded players who I don't think many people were that confident were actually going to make round 3, but fair play to them. They're both here, and they've done it in different ways. I mean, Rob Cross, to be honest, I'm still not convinced. Still not convinced he's playing all that well. He basically had a bye in round 1 against Cordecker, who did not turn up, averaged 81, and couldn't hit a barn door on that particular evening. So Cross was allowed to sort of cruise his way into the tournament. And then in round 2, again, played Ian White. They both threw some good darts in spells, but overall it was a low 90s average again, and it was just sort of workmanlike from Cross. And like there was set averages in there in the 80s and 70s in both of those games. So like he's still playing extremely patchy. Whereas I feel like Damon Hett has been asked a lot more questions, similar ilk to the Schindler Searle game. He's beaten Steve Lennon 3-1. He was in control of that game at 2-0. Didn't close it out 3-0. It went 2-1. Lennon was throwing some good darts at him, and he played really well in the 4th set to get it done and finished. And then, again, even harder test for him against Stefan Belmont, because he started really slowly. I think he averaged 76 in the 1st set and was bang up against it. Came out in set 2, average 110. But then again got himself pinned back to 2-1 down, really under the pump. And we've seen Heta fold in those situations quite a few times over the last sort of 2 years or so. Well, he didn't fold here. He was really, really good in the finish, stormed to the line and got home. And I think that'll do him a world of good in terms of confidence. I would actually have Heta favourite here. Like, the money's come for Cross. I presume that's because of Cross's TV pedigree over Heta. I think the market probably has a little bit of an anti-Heta stance just due to his TV record. But I think those mentally, those 2 wins he's had there should do wonders for his confidence. And I still have reservations about Cross. So I could definitely make a case for just backing Heta at even money here. But I'm not actually going to play anything on this game. What I'm actually going to do is back both of these 2 in the most 180s in the afternoon session market, because I think the game could go deep, and I think that there's not as much between them in terms of scoring as the market's making out. Like, these 2 are 12 and 14 to 1 outsiders in that afternoon market tomorrow, behind Schindler, Searle, Anderson and Wattimena. And given I think this game could go 6 or 7 sets, and both could settle in, like, these are top 10 players in the world on their day. So I think those prices are too big. I think you could chuck a point on each and just hope that one of them gets firing on the maximum bed. And you could well be going into that Anderson Wattimena game with a really nice position to leverage. So that's the way I would play it. No bet on the game, but I'd probably have a point on both in the most 180s in the afternoon session market. Final game of the afternoon session is a no bet for me, but can't wait to watch this. Gary Anderson versus Gerwen and Wattimena. Could definitely make the case for Gerwen and Wattimena at 13 to 10. Gary Anderson, the market is rushing to get with him after a stunning performance in round 2 against Connor Scott. But I will just caveat it with Gary Anderson has threatened to do something in the majors a few times over the last few years and then delivered a very flat performance afterwards. That said, I can't help but be impressed with the way he played against Scott. It was his highest average at the World Championship for many, many years, and he looks in very confident mood, and he's determined, I think, to remind everybody that he can still do it, because he has not been talked about at all this year. The last couple of years, he's come into this tournament being touted as a potential winner. I've not really seen anybody touting Anderson a potential winner this year, me included. And I think that's maybe got his back up a bit. And Gary Anderson, when he's fired up, he's often a very dangerous man. So, credit to him. And I love Gary Anderson. I'd love to see him go really deep. But I think you'd have to say the prices. Wattimena is quite attractive. I mean, he really played well against Scott Williams. I had a max bet on Scott Williams at 2 to 1. Wattimena was playing darts from a different planet to go 2-0 up. But when Williams roared back at him, won 6 straight legs to make it 2-2, it looked like there was only one winner. Germain dusted himself down and played exemplary stuff in that 5th set, was a worthy winner. And, operating up at a ton average in that kind of game under that kind of pressure, all credit to him. He's been a player trending fantastically for the last 2 years, had his first PDC title this year, followed it up with another one quite quickly. He's consistently having runs in majors. I totally get why people would want to be with Wattimena. At the prices, it's a no bet for me. I think that market is about bob on. If I was going to back one at the prices, it would be Wattimena, because I don't think there's much between them. But really looking forward to watching this one. On to the evening session then, and Gian van versus Madars Razma. On paper, looks like a walkover for Van Veen. Maybe a slight disrespect to Razma, who played extremely well against Darren Beveridge. He was 2-0 up, averaging over a ton. Beveridge came back at him, spurned darts to make it 2-2. Razma closed it out 3-1. But it was a 97 average for Madars. It was his best performance at the World Championship for a long time, if not ever. So he's got to come in full of confidence. It's a free hit for him. He is a slow, methodical player, which will test Van Veen in terms of pace. And Van Veen, he's scoring it out of this world. He's finishing when it's on. He's brilliant. But I would have, 1 to 12, I'm still not sure he's quite got that little sort of ruthless reliability that this price kind of suggests. I expect him to win and win with comfort, but I'm not sure he's a 1 to 12, 1 to 14 chance just yet at this point of his career. He does still have the odd trappy game in the locker. The way I am going to play this game, I'm going to have a bet on this game. It's on the Razma 180s, and those who watch my content regularly will know I like to oppose Razma in 180 markets, kind of like back the other player to hit the most 180s, but Razma to win. Well, today, a little bit of a change of tack here. I'm going to back Madars over 2.5 180s, which is his line. Just under even money here, 1.95. I think that Razma, he can hit 180s. It's important not to completely underestimate him in the 180 ranks, because although he does switch around the board, he does quite like a 180, particularly when he's playing a heavy scoring opponent, I find. It's almost like he mentally needs to remind himself that he can hit 180s and he can compete with people in terms of power scoring. So there are certain occasions where I want to get with Razma on the 180s, and this is one of them. I think that the market's probably just gone a little bit too far on his unders line. We get a minimum of 4 sets here. I think there's a good chance for Razma nicks a set. So say we've got 5 sets, 3 180s in 5 sets is well within his reach, I would say. Against Beveridge, I think he covered that line. At least hit a couple and threatened a lot more. Plenty of 140s chucked in there for good measure as well. And Yeah, I've just got a feeling he'll be going to the treble 20 a little bit more often here than he normally would, just to try and stick with Van Veen in legs. He's a quirky player, Razma. He's never one to try and predict too deeply. But I think with that 180 line, it's so low for a 4-set minimum at 2.5 that I'm willing to chance it, and willing to chance that he can carry that good performance in and at least give a credible showing of himself here against Van Veen, who looks every inch a title contender and has been a joy to watch in recent times. Penultimate match of the day then is Luke Humphries versus Gabriel Clemens, and I was very tempted to just back the Humphries 4-0 here. 7-5 available with Ladbrokes and Coral. I think that is fair. I wouldn't put anybody off that, to be honest. I think it should be close to even money. Humphries has been exemplary in this tournament, bar one set that he had off against Ted Everts. He won that one 3-1. He beat Paul Lim 3-0. Like, he even said in his post-match, he didn't really want to beat Paul Lim without losing a leg, so he's maybe just easing off a little bit towards the finish, but when he had his foot on the gas, he looked a class apart, and he is very much the second best player in this field behind Littler. And I think there's a class gap between him and Clemens, who got through with a bye, basically, against Alex Spellman, who didn't turn up in round one. And then in round two, beat Wessel Nyman 3-0. Yes, impressive. And he was quite solid, Clemens. But the story of that game was Nyman's doubling, which was an absolute aberration. He was terrible on the outer ring and basically handed Clemens a couple of those sets. So as good as it has been from Clemens and improved, I still think that he's somewhere short of troubling Humphries here. I think the 4-0 is a live runner at 7-5. The way I would probably play it instead is just to handicap 180s for Humphries' favour. The -1.5 180s looks a very solid bet at a general 5-6. And then you could ladder it with -2.5, 11-8, -3.5, getting up towards 5-2. I'm just going to have 2-point win for the purposes of YouTube on -1.5 Humphries 180s, handicap at 5-6. We're getting that price because Clemens is a good scorer himself, but I think if this game is to be how I expect it to be, kind of a 4-0 or 4-1 Humphries, Clemens could tail off. Sometimes when he goes a couple of sets down, the darts can start to spray about as he chases it a little bit. I could definitely see something like that happening here. So I'm going to chance Humphries on the -1.5 180s handicap of 5-6. Final game of the night is Michael van Gerwen against Arno Merk. Arno Merk's done me a good turn in this tournament. Backed him against Kim Huybrechts at a nice price in round one. And then backed him against Peter Wright at North for 2-1 in round two. So he owes me absolutely nothing, Arno. I do think his run comes to an end here against MVG. He was very good against Willie O'Connor. Like, Willie O'Connor raced out the blocks. MVG nicked the first set in impressive fashion and didn't really look back. He still dropped a set to O'Connor. I don't think he's at his fully sharp best yet, but he's definitely a lot closer to it than the market thinks, in my opinion. I don't really think the 4-0. I think the 4-0 is a little bit overbet here. Like, there's a lot of money come for the 4-0 here. I actually think that's a little bit disrespectful to Merk, who's just going about his business, playing really solid darts, averaging around the 90 mark. I think, given he's got 2 sets minimum on his own throw, that he can push one of them to a last leg, and I'd be fairly confident he can get a set on the board. So the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to sort of Dutch the 4-1 and 4-2 correct score here. I'm going to have 1.25 points at 11-4 with SkyBet on 4-1, and 3/4 of a point with Betfred on the 4-2 at 5-1. And then if either of them cup, it's basically 4.5 to 5 points back from a 2-point stake. So I'm fairly confident that Merk will get a set, but I do think it'll be a relatively comfortable night's work for Van Gerwen as he continues to grow into this tournament. And he's definitely not a man to be overlooked in the outright betting either. Okay, so that sums up my best bets on Sunday, 28th of December. Just to clarify, I'm going to be having 2 points on Martin Schindler at 6-5 on the Betfair exchange. I'm going to be having a couple of points on Madars Razma over 2.5 180s versus Gian van Veen at 19-20. A couple of points on Luke Humphries -1.5 180s against Gabriel Clemens at 5-6. And then just touching the correct score on MVG versus Merk, 4-1 at 11-4 and 4-2 at 5-1. Split stakes to return roughly 4.5 to 5 points. And then the final 2 bets that I did mention, they're not on the Heta cross game, but I'm going to have a point on Heta and a point on cross to hit the most 180s in the afternoon session at 12-1 and 14-1 respectively, and they're both with Boyle Sports. So it's 10 points staked on the day. Let me know what you're backing in the comments. If you are enjoying these videos, please do give me a thumb up, and if you haven't already, do hit subscribe to the Odds Now YouTube channel as we try to get towards 1,000 subscribers. I hope you're enjoying these videos. Good luck with your bets tomorrow. I'll be back again to preview Monday's action. Thanks for watching.